Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. For less than $10 a meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Some meals available in September include spicy hoisin chicken stir-fry with baby bok choy and sesame ginger cucumber salad, or summer udon noodle salad with cherry tomatoes. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/untitled. That's blueapron.com/untitled. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. And now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Simone.
And I'm Rebecca.
Hey guys, so Adam and Norm are still, in the Arctic and someplace
Just
in
missing.
Canada.
Yeah,
which I guess is also
missing.
the Arctic.
I think so.
Yeah.
We should put up their pictures on like the milk carton.
Never
Right.
forget, guys.
Missing.
If anybody has seen either of these people.
So Norm's wife posted a picture of a polar bear that looked like it was taken from what I would describe as extremely, like having never seen a polar bear that wasn't behind walls, it looked like extremely close range.
Wait, it was a picture that Norm had
Presumably
taken?
Norm took a picture of a
Not
polar
just
bear.
from the internet?
His last known photo.
Look, yeah. I mean, the bear's muzzle was all bloody,
red.
and there was like
Yeah.
a stump.
It was
hanging
actually
out.
a photo of Norm, just that he wasn't the polar bear's
Yeah,
belly.
yeah. It's like the Luke Skywalker with the Wampa.
Right, exactly
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
So he's coming back, I think, end of this week, maybe.
he is.
Is he going to come back a changed man?
I
Oh,
expect
good
he has
question.
a giant beard.
Yeah.
I want to ask him a bunch of Jack London questions, like when you pee outside in the Arctic, is it cold enough that it freezes before it hits the ground?
So that's what you associate with Jack London.
That's all I remember from 5th grade or 7th grade or whatever.
Let's ask all the relevant questions here. When
Right.
you pee. Yeah, I wonder, how cold does it have to be for that to happen?
I believe if my memory of Call of the Wild is right,
I think it's
negative
from Call of the
40.
Wild.
Negative 40. So that's
that's
negative
the
40.
place where the
Yeah, where
the
Fahrenheit
same.
and Celsius
Yeah.
meet. I actually know what that means.
yeah.
Yeah, so you have context.
I have
Right.
context.
Have
Yeah.
you? So I'm going to ask a dumb Sweden question.
Yeah.
I apologize. Like the part of Sweden you lived in,
Yeah.
the urban center,
Stockholm.
Stockholm.
The capital.
I was
if
like,
you
is
will.
it Oslo or Stockholm? Oslo is Norway. I could make a horrible faux pas here. Does it get that cold?
It gets pretty cold. Yeah. I mean, it's not as northern parts of Sweden where it gets like really, really cold, but it still gets like, I think the coldest like minus 25 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
I don't know. So it's like, it's cold enough for you to like, if you walk down the street and you smile, your teeth are gonna start hurting.
Yeah.
So
Like you
it's
have to
like
breathe through your
you
nose.
just have to look miserable.
Yeah, luckily
Yeah.
no one smiles because it's a horrible place.
Because it's really cold.
Do you have to wear like goggles? Do you wear goggles and stuff, or not so much?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm
you
just
just like
checking.
right there.
Not even what about while cycling and stuff?
So there are some people who cycle, but I'm like one of those road bike nerds, and I just can't do like broad tires. But I think you can. But
right.
it's super slippery and cold and kind of miserable. But yeah, but I like, because in the last podcast you asked about, you're like, oh, Stockholm polar bears, and it's just like the excursion of Will learning about.
You live in igloos there, right?
Look,
But they're stacked on top of each other because it's the urban center.
Yeah.
I'm a
of course.
product of American public education. We got to like 1912 before we ran out of the school year
Right.
for the world history class.
Yeah.
And we never made it to Scandinavia. We got to like Denmark, and that was pretty much it.
I'm happy to help you
Well,
further your.
we can keep the weird Stockholm questions going. If you
Yeah,
want.
I mean, and it's like I ask a lot of stupid questions about the states, so
No,
This is
but
how we
you
learn.
don't. Like your questions are all of your questions are at worst charming because your accent is so good that you forget that you're not from around here, and so it's like, oh, she did. Like earlier, I said, can I curse? I can curse, right?
Yeah,
curse
all
all
of
you
the
want.
words are available. Here.
Okay, I said fuck all. She said, what did you do this weekend? And I said, fuck all. And she was like, you had sex with a lot of people? And I was
Idioms.
like, boy, I wish.
Actually, I was hanging out with a friend yesterday, and I was just like really befuddled about the expression "tap that ass."
Okay.
Because I'm like, is it tap as in like tapping?
No, I believe
I
it
think
refers
it's
to
tapping as in like a ear tap?
like a keg. Yeah.
Because you don't want to tap a butt, because that would mean that you would just
No, you-
fill up
oh,
a glass of
sweetie,
shit.
You don't want what's in there.
You don't want what's in there.
No.
Like, whatever. You don't
No.
want what's
No,
in
no,
there. And I
no.
was like, what the fuck, American expressions?
That's true.
What are you
That's
up
true.
to? Why? You don't. I'm just thinking of somebody being like, blah, 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 blah.
I can't wait for the comments.
Yeah, this is what
sorry.
happens
So,
when Adam leaves us alone for too long.
Yeah.
So these are the questions I ask about American culture, so don't
Right.
feel
See,
weird about
they're-
asking about goggles in Sweden.
They're all good questions.
Right?
This is how we learn about other cultures.
It's a very
We find
charming
somebody,
question, I think.
And then we ask them,
Explain
Charming.
the origin of tap
Somebody's
that
like,
ass,
hey, Simone, I really want to tap your ass. And I was like, do you,
I'll be right back.
that's
Give me a few minutes.
interesting request.
Do you have a cup or something?
Oh boy. Hey,
Very early in the morning, I feel.
It is
probably
so
too
early.
late.
It's too early in the morning for this.
mental note. Put a parental thing on this one, probably.
Oh, God,
for
I'm
the kids.
sorry.
Um,
Oh my god, I got a really funny comment. I feel like overall I'm not very kid friendly, but I got a really funny comment from a parent being like, "Hey Simone, I really want to watch your videos with my kids, but I want them without the shits and the fucks and the go down on people."
Look, I might be a bad parent, but we have a pretty cursy household, and my daughter regularly drops. She says, "Dad, you're not supposed to say fuck. That's not very nice."
No.
Which is super cute right now, and like I'm gonna get notes about it when she goes to school. And
But I love that she's the
Yeah.
one keeping you in check.
it's good. She knows. Sometimes she messes up though, because sometimes she'll be like, "Dad, you're not supposed to say holy cow. That's not nice."
No.
I'm like, well, that one's okay actually.
I mean, it's not nice though from an Indian perspective. It's actually quite racist.
That's true. That's true.
Is
Well,
it?
Holy Toledo is bad
I don't
for
know
people
if that's
from Ohio.
actually where that
No, I
comes
don't
from.
know.
But
Where does it come from? Is it? It feels like
I feel like it
your microphone
might
is
be like an
super wiggly.
anti-Indian
So this
thing.
chair is a little. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a table actually too.
Here's my take on saying horrible things in front of children is that if they don't know what I'm talking about, then it doesn't matter. Like if they don't have the context to understand what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. If they do have the context to understand what I'm saying, it also doesn't matter because they've already heard it before.
Well, so a lot of that is
true.
Works until they start parroting things.
Yeah, and then it's hilarious.
And then they go to school, and I am. This hasn't happened to us yet, but I understand that you get notes from the teacher that say, if you could have your child not say, shit,
Dick
face,
farts.
cockmaster or something like that.
Cockmaster?
Yeah.
Is that something that
No,
your
no,
child
I'm
is
just-
picking
I
up
was-
on the
I was-
regular?
I was thinking
because
about-
that teacher is correct to be concerned. Billy came in today and said that he was the cockmaster, and we're just wondering where he picked up on that.
Look, like 90% of my parenting is designed to avoid child and protective services.
I see. Yeah.
As a middle-aged white guy, I'm probably pretty safe, but
Probably,
until she's laying on the floor at Target screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, stop doing that! You're hurting me."
You're setting the bar really high.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, speaking of family-friendly activities, Simone,
Ooh, great segue.
it's what
Love it.
it's the defining factor of podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah,
good,
good
terrible
segues.
segues.
Yeah.
You were on Colbert.
I was on Colbert. Yeah.
Holy cow!
So awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The funny thing is we filmed it like 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and they were going to show it immediately, but then there was some circus who was going to end that weekend, so they kind of had to bump that into my time
Hold on,
slot.
you got bumped by a circus?
I got bumped by a
rough.
circus.
That's not good.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. But they finally aired it, and I kind of didn't think that they were going to air it. And I've had, like, if you search for my name, it's been like Simone Yetch Colbert, Simone Yetch Late Show, and a lot of people have been looking for it. So I kind of I started to get, like, scared that people were going to think that I just made it up.
Yeah, that's that's a real.
Here's me
Right.
posing in front of a Late Show logo that I printed myself.
Yeah, you went to the novelty stand-up store and got a stand-up of Stephen.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that stuff. But they finally aired it, and yeah, it was pretty great.
What'd you do?
I brought 4 of my machines. I brought the chopping machine, the toothbrush helmet, the lipstick machine, and the applause machine. And Stephen Colbert got to try all of them out. And I think, like, to me, the peak was he used the lipstick robot, and I used it too, so we were both just, like, covered in lipstick.
Oh my
It
goodness.
kind of
Who used it first?
He used it first.
So his germs got on.
Yes,
him.
but
So
he
it's
also
basically like he kissed you on the mouth.
But he also, he used the toothbrush helmet as well that I've used and a lot of other people have used
Wow.
without washing
So
it.
it's a
Yeah,
two-way-
so we're
That's
like,
two-way
yeah, we're
back
like
over.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was an intimate
So
encounter.
it was very intimate and great.
Good.
But it was nice. But it was such a crazy experience like doing it because I've been on shows before, but this is definitely the biggest one and the one like I did a big show in Spain called El Hormiguero, but it's like since I don't speak Spanish, it's like it doesn't really.
Right.
But
It's
this
not
is like something that I would actually watch. Like I actually understand the comments that people write on it.
You were on a soap opera in China.
I was in
briefly?
a Chinese sitcom, but oh my god, that was almost 10 years ago.
That's right.
That was very different. But it was because I was on set for almost 10 hours because I flew in. I did the red eye from Vancouver, and I flew in, and I was there for the longest time. And it's just like, as much as it's really fun, it's also like you're pretty nervous because you know you're going to be on stage, and especially like when I bring a lot of my machines, it's like there's always a chance of them not starting or not working.
Especially
and
after traveling with them, right?
yeah. Oh my God. They're like all broken now because I just put them in my suitcase and they've been like scrambled.
So what's your like when you have to bring a bunch of machines and you want them to not work in the right way rather than the wrong way, like you're sitting in the green room, I assume, and kind of just like drinking Diet Cokes or whatever and eating peanuts and waiting for your curtain time?
Yeah, so you have like a rehearsal and a setup. I had a rehearsal before, and they were actually really nice. Like they rescheduled the rehearsal so I could take a nap because I'd slept like 3 hours, and I was like, I really need a nap. And so you have a rehearsal where you go through everything, and I just did it alone and with the people on set. So we had like everything set up on the table, the display table that we were going to bring it in. And then I was just sitting in my green room, but it was actually really nice because like, I mean, for one, like what I always try to remind myself of, like, you're going to be on stage with some of the best people in the world. Like Stephen Colbert is one of the most professional hosts ever, and you kind of share the burden of making it interesting and fun.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're there alone. Like you're sharing it with a pro. And also they're like, the staff there is just great. Like they're so used to handling nervous people, and they're just really great at like making you feel comfortable. But it was actually kind of funny because like I started hanging out with them, and they were like the people on set, and they were like super chill people. And they just like, I remember like, because I was hanging out with this one girl, Allie, and all the other people started like laughing. And I was like, what are they laughing about? And she was just like, oh, it's just that guests never hang out with us. Like everybody just comes in there and are kind of like a little bit too busy. And I was like, hey, what are you up to?
Right, you've got 10 hours to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, like figuring out how that stuff, like I always want to know how that works, right? Like how does a production like that they do every day, like 200 days a year, and they shoot it at 4:00 and it's up at 11:30 every night?
Yeah.
Like the mechanics of that are astounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't understand how they can do it, especially the host. Like, as much as, because he kind of comes in, I mean, probably does a lot of preparation as well, but like he wasn't there for rehearsal, he just came in for the shoot. But doing that, like being on camera, they record 2 episodes on Thursdays and then they have Fridays off. But still doing that 4 days a week and kind of being on top and being that sharp, I don't understand how you can do it. It must take a lot out of you.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Well, and I mean, like I've read about, I love late night TV, as everybody who knows me knows. Like I've read the books about Carson and Letterman and all that stuff, and like those guys, especially Letterman before he kind of had the heart attack and checked out is maybe not fair, but
Chilled out.
He had a heart attack. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he had a heart attack maybe 8 or 10 years before he stopped, and before that he was a kind of voracious workaholic and was really super micromanaging about the entire show. And then after that he realized that he was going to die young if he didn't stop doing that.
Yeah.
And kind of took a step back and let it run on autopilot because he set up a good organization and it worked. But like the amount that those guys read to get the context of the jokes and to be able to +1 the joke as it's coming out and all that, like it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they do it.
And well, Colbert is a master of comedy, and you know I think he's got an improv background too. So yeah, it makes sense what you say. Like if you're on stage with him, pretty much no matter what you do, it's going to be entertaining. Like you know, you contribute, but worst case scenario, if you pass out on stage, it'll still be funny.
Yeah.
Actually, it would probably
That'd be pretty
funnier.
good. Yeah. That will make a YouTube clip at least.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm just like, my worries are always, I mean, for one, that I'm accidentally gonna drop a joke that a joke that doesn't land. Like, I'm okay with awkward jokes, but sometimes it just gets very awkward.
Yeah.
In an uncomfortable way. That, and also, like, I'm okay with my robots, like, or my machines not working the way that they should, but I'm always really nervous that they're not going to start. I did a live kids show in Sweden, and I was going to show the breakfast machine, and like 5 minutes we were going to go live, it just didn't start. And like, that feeling is just like, it's a horrible feeling, and you're kind of just panicking. And like we went live because we had to do something, and I kind of made up the story about how the robot had woken up in the morning and it had like a slight cold and not feeling super great, and we just kind of just have to like make it feel a little bit better, and then it might start. And then it actually started, and it kind of like became a nice piece. But just that feeling is like all that I want to avoid, having that like, oh shit, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So before, I mean, we used to do a weekly live show at Tested from like 2011, 2010 to 2012. And that nightmare feeling of, hey, your thing's not going to work, happened literally every single time. So I don't, like, I wonder how they minimize that on a day-to-day. I mean, I assume it's just way more people and way more kind of moving parts. And
yeah, I think so. But I mean, I remember when I was on the Spanish talk show, like, they went through all of my robots and they like duct taped the shit out of it.
Oh.
Like, they really made sure that there were no loose cables, nothing, and really tried to minimize the errors or the potential errors. But still, it feels like it's inevitable. How did you deal with it? Was it ever that you were in a spot, you're like, hey, all this big thing that we planned didn't work out. I'm just going to sit here and stare for 45 minutes.
So the worst one I made was I tried to make an enormous potato battery. Have you ever done that? Like, you stick a nail and a piece of copper and two ends of a potato, and then the galvanic reaction, like, it generates a tiny, tiny amount of current. I thought, what if you hooked, say, 20 pounds of potatoes together and made an enormous potato battery? Could you power like an Xbox controller or something like that? And it worked right up until the moment that we moved it from where I was assembling it. Like, I had a table that was twice the size of this, filled with potatoes, wired, I think 4 cells in series, or in parallel rather. So in theory, if one of them had a short or something, it would still work. And by the time I had gotten there, I think what happened was that the copper, I had enough pennies that weren't copper pennies.
Oh.
That it didn't work.
Yeah.
So
no.
Yeah. So it was an exercise in failed building, right?
And you're like, so it worked right before I showed it to you. I promise. I wonder what's
You
wrong.
guys would have loved this.
Oh gosh.
Were you going to play Portal?
We were it was a Portal joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you were hitting all the right notes.
The other one that was really good, and this one isn't for kids to replicate at home, but we got one of those brainwave Jedi mind trick things.
Yeah, with the ball floating sort of thing.
Yeah, and we could never make
this?
it. In like 2010, 2011, there were a series of toys that you put on like a brainwave meter, and it would look for specific patterns in your brainwaves, and then it would fire a fan, and the fan would blow a ping pong ball up a tube. So you could Jedi mind trick a ping pong ball.
Oh wow. That's the way to get laid.
Let me tell you.
It's a way to get laid. I'm not sure if it's the way.
And that's how I met your mother. So, no, we could only make it work when we were drunk. So we had a bar in the office, and it sat there for weeks, and nobody could ever do it. And then somebody grabbed it and went in the bar when we'd been drinking one night, and the first person we put on was like, oh. So Norm and I decided that we were going to get drunk enough to make it work in the space of this hour-long show. So we opened with that. And
Sounds
then
like a great idea.
We kept checking back in.
What could go wrong?
And we were pounding Jack Daniels. And the problem is it's really hard for the alcohol to hit you fast enough for it to show in the space of that hour. So we wildly overshot. And it ends when Norm got the thing done, but then immediately following that, like, we both went back to our desks, and I had to call my wife to come pick me up. I think I ended up throwing up on the side of the road on the way home. Like, it was spectacularly bad. but hilarious.
And you got that ping pong working.
Norm
so.
did. I could never. I'm dead to the machine.
You're dead. Your brain is dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry to break it to you.
Too many
your
brain
is
cells.
dead. Yeah.
And that's when I realized I had a problem.
Yeah.
A drinking problem?
Just
So
all
many
sorts.
problems.
Yeah, so
Several.
many, really.
All of the problems.
It's a litany, really. So what else is going on? I think we have kind of bulldozed through a lot of stuff. Rebecca, you said you just rewatched.
Yeah, my favorite, one of my top 5 favorite sci-fi films, which nobody ever thinks about when they're listing their favorite sci-fi films, but Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, starring Jim Carrey. But it's great.
Look,
The butt there is very important, I feel.
He's made some real good movies.
He has. Yeah.
Some.
And this is
He's also made a lot of horrible movies.
Really, really bad.
He has. But I think people think of Eternal Sunshine, if they think of it at all, I think it's mostly forgotten, but if they think of it at all as like a romantic comedy drama, maybe. But
yeah, it doesn't. I was kind of surprised when you talked about it as a sci-fi, but I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
it is a sci-fi.
The entire plot is predicated on the idea that there's a service that lets you erase very specific memories of a person, place, or thing. And so it deals with, well, what are the ramifications of that? What would it look like in a world where this can happen? And here's how it affects this one particular relationship.
It's a Charlie Kaufman script.
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, it's one of those movies that's a little bit inexplicable on the first go round.
Yeah. It's rewarding on rewatches because it starts out one way and you think you're following it, and then something happens that sort of changes everything you just watched. And I'll mention, not only is it Charlie Kaufman, but it's Michel Gondry directing. And so like those two together, I feel like that's one of my favorite combos.
It's kind of a sweet romantic anti-romance version of Total Recall.
Yeah.
Right?
In a way, yeah. It's romance. Is it sweet though? It's kind of
You think it's sweet.
I don't know. I like it because it's also very weirdly depressing too, because it's about being like caught in a cycle of love and hate and bitterness.
I need to go back and rewatch that.
It's so good.
How does it? Because he kind of realizes that he doesn't want to get rid of the memories as they're deleting them, and
right?
He kind of tries to save them.
Yeah, Jim Carrey is trying to delete the memories of his girlfriend Clementine, played by Kate Winslet. And because she did the same thing to him, he finds out that she did this to him, so he's going to do it to her.
Spoilers for a 15-year-old movie.
It's old enough that I think we're allowed to spoil it. And then, as soon as they start deleting the memories, he's like in the memories and realizing that, oh, actually there are so many good memories here, they're worth hanging on to. And so he attempts to save the memories as they're being deleted. And I mean, should I completely spoil the end?
No, save it.
Okay.
So, I'm sure somebody here hasn't seen it, and
Okay.
I think it's worth watching.
Yeah, and I think the ending is awesome and perfect.
Look, I think if you said, hey, here are some directors and screenwriters that you should just watch everything that they've made, then Michel Gondry and Charlie Kaufman are two of them.
I agree.
I find overall movies that take a concept like that and actually try to explore seriously, like how would this play out and into society. I was thinking about it yesterday because you can often think about sci-fi and fantasy, and it's a lot. It doesn't actually reflect that much on how introducing this technology into current society would affect it. But I was thinking like, oh, this is so not related. This is a very poor segue, and I'm not even sure that this is very interesting.
Look, you called it out, so you fit the podcast.
I have to finish this. Very interesting. Welcome to the inner workings of my brain. I was thinking if you could choose between being a giant or a tiny person.
Like how tiny are we talking?
Yeah, and how giant are we talking?
Microscopic?
Yeah, no, like you'd be about the height of a hand.
And how giant?
And giant about like the height of a redwood tree.
Oh.
Because like, how would that? Because
Are you the only one?
You're the only one, and it's in current human society. Because like, I
that
realize
would
if
be
you
fair.
were a giant, you would probably people would freak out.
Yeah.
You would be like a fucking running circus, and there would be a lot of rules about where you were allowed to walk and not
you
to
couldn't
walk.
go to
You
the
couldn't.
movies.
You couldn't go to the movies. You couldn't walk in a city because you were gonna like break the pavement and
Yeah.
stuff like
And
that.
mush people.
Yeah, and like just thinking that and taking
But
it
you
like
could
a little
eat
bit
whatever
further.
you wanted.
You'd have to because
couldn't
your
eat
caloric
people.
intake would have to be you'd have to just
Huge.
be like spitting whole cows and like it would get pretty gruesome if you were that
But
big
also
pretty
the
quickly.
effects of gravity on your bones and muscles would probably lead to early death.
You'd
So-
probably die. You'd probably have a big heart attack and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I like that notion of just taking like, what would happen? And then just reflecting a little bit further about how it would actually play out.
Well, yeah, and you know, so many movies that we think of as being sci-fi or fantasy, more focused on sci-fi, I guess. They do. There's an idea there, and then you're looking at it on a large scale, and or at least like with a big story. So even Total Recall, you know, you are focused on one particular man, but it's like a big over-the-top story about that man. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is science fiction, but it's focused like really like microscopically, like on like the relationship between these two people.
Yeah, and
her is the
yeah,
other-
I was
yeah.
just thinking about
Yeah.
her as well, where it's like, how would this actually play out? Because we can think about it on a big scale, but how would it actually play out in like everyday life?
Yep.
And just it's interesting.
Well, and to me, those are the most interesting. Like the personal stories way more interesting than, hey, the aliens are coming. Will Smith has to save the
Right.
world because
Yeah.
nobody. We've seen.
I cared more about that golden retriever in Independence Day than anybody else.
That dog had the
any
biggest
human.
turn. Couldn't believe when he ate everybody. I guess that'll do it for us this week.
Oh, is that it
I
already?
know.
Wow, so much good content.
I know. We
here.
talked about American
I know.
idioms.
This is
goggles.
pure gold. You know what? Nobody in the comments is even going to notice that Adam Savage wasn't here,
We're gonna
or
know.
that we're not in the cave.
Yeah, that was my fault, by the way.
It is your
I
fault.
didn't get the key. So we're here in the Tested podcast room this week. I probably won't be back next week because I'm going to be traveling for the next few days. But I think Adam and Norm might be back next week. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out. You'll find out
Call,
next Tuesday.
call us if you find them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
God.
see
Just
it's 1-800
get them to a safe
for the kids.
Find Norm.
Give them
Yeah,
Diet
good
Cokes
find
and make sure they're okay.
I'm sure they're probably all okay. You know, Adam's a little bit Canadian now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super raspy apparently.
You are. I like it.
I'm not supposed to clear my throat. I had to go to vocal therapy.
What?
I haven't talked about this on the show yet. So I had to go to vocal therapy because, well, for years of doing Tested, I was talking more than a normal human should in a week.
No, I agree with that. You should have shut up.
It's everybody agrees. I developed bad habits that resulted in me using the resonance of my throat and the muscles therein rather than my vocal cords correctly. So I've had to learn how. They stuck a camera in my mouth and made me make sounds while I had my tongue stuck out.
Oh, I
so
think
they
I
could watch
subscribed
my
to that
vocal
YouTube channel,
cords. It's okay. Next time you're here, we're talking about weird YouTube channels, Rebecca.
Okay.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so I have video I'll show you afterwards. It's really cool. You can see it's very Giger-esque. Like there's
Yeah.
the folds open. It's a nightmare. But
It does give you weird consequences. I have had when I did a lot of stuff and I gave a lot of talks and stuff like that my tongue started swelling.
Yeah.
Because I was
yeah.
talking so much that I was like biting down on it, and it just makes it worse.
and you like your jaw locks up a little
Yeah,
bit.
and then it's like that's your cue. You should shut the fuck up
I have
because
to
you're obviously
carry.
talking
I
too
carry cough drops everywhere I go when I'm at conferences and stuff, and I just nonstop because I will lose my voice because I'm like you.
So that was
I don't shut up.
that was the bellwether for me, was that
Yeah.
I was losing my voice way more than I was supposed to. And I
Right.
went to my doctor. He was like, "Hey, what's wrong with your voice?" And I said, "Oh, it happens like a lot now."
So I got to have a camera shoved down my throat now.
I can tell you where to go. You go to UC. It's
Actually,
really
I'm
great.
kinda into it.
It was really, really cool. And on that happy note, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Like us, subscribe, leave a comment. I guess I don't care. Whatever. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
This week's episode of Still Untitled was also brought to you by Casper Mattresses. Casper is an obsessively engineered mattress at a shockingly fair price, combining springy latex and supportive memory foams to create an award-winning sleep surface with just the right amount of sink and just the right bounce. Time magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2015. In fact, it's now the most awarded mattress of the decade. There are free shippings and returns to US and Canada, and you can try a Casper mattress for 100 nights risk-free in your own home. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. The mattresses are, of course, also made in America. Now, for listeners of this podcast, you can get $50 toward any mattress purchase by going to casper.com/untitled and using the offer code UNTITLED. Terms and conditions may apply. See you next week.